Good day, everyone. Welcome to CMPS1014 Asynchronous Online Session for 2022-1 semester. And remember, this is going to be your assignment number 2, the Excel assignment walkthrough, which will be disseminated and explained in week 8. This video is designed to take you through the various requirements of this assignment. Remember that this assignment is due on October 30th, Sunday night, 11:59. By that date, you will be able to submit it starting October 24th. Remember that before you complete this assignment, you should be going through all of the various practice Excel exercises 1, 2, and 3, which will be available. Number 3 will be available in week 9, and all of the practice exercises that are available to you in the tutorials. So once you've done all of those, you are supposed to then start the assignment. Okay, so remember that, and this is where, when you click on the assignment here, you will see that the assignment comes with one file. This file contains all instructions, the rubric, as well as the file that you will start with that you will manipulate. So once you download this file to your computer, you will then make changes to it, and then you will upload it back following the same procedures that you did when you did your Microsoft Word assignment, except in this case, you're just going to have one file, or actually in one workbook, which is what you're going to upload. So I've taken the liberty to already download this to my computer, and I have the assignment right here. Excuse me. This is it. Okay, so when you open the assignment, you will notice that it has currently has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tabs, or 5 different worksheets within the workbook. You have sheet 1, sheet 2, section 2Q, and section 2A, and the last one is called rubric, do not alter or delete. Okay, this means exactly what it says. Do not delete this sheet, do not change this sheet, do not copy and paste from this sheet, do not change any of the formatting on this sheet. This is where you have all of your instructions, okay? So if you do something to this sheet and you damage it and you're unable to get it back, what you need to do is you need to re-download this exact sheet, okay? Now, remember that I told you about original work. Now, in past semesters, a very similar assignment has been given out, but there have been quite a bit of changes made to it throughout the way into the data and to the actual instructions. So if for some reason someone inadvertently gets an older version of this assignment and submits it, I want to be very clear, you will get a 0 for your work. You must submit this file and only this file, which means you have to download this file, which contains certain elements that are unique to this file. You must make the changes, you will rename it as instructed, and you will upload this file back with the new sheets. So when you start, you have 5 sheets in this workbook. When you are done, you will have 9. And you can see that right here on the side here, where it says that you will have 9 sheets in one workbook. Okay, so you start with 5, you will be adding 4. You will also be changing these ones in here. So anything that's listed here, you'll be making changes to. So I'm going to go through the sections. There's 3 sections to this assignment as 3 requirements. And again, you can see at the top, please make no changes or alterations. If you make changes to this, it's very easily to tell if somebody does something to this sheet, and that requires a much closer inspection because there's no reason to be altering this sheet. All of the formatting that's required are to be done to the 8 other sheets. This one you should not touch. Okay, so let's get started. I think I made that painfully clear. You will rename sheet number 1 to donor list, and sheet number 2 to donor data. So you see here, sheet number 1, you will rename this to donor list, and you'll rename this to donor data. Then you will copy and paste all of the data from A1 to E35, right, which is here, right? Starts here, A1 goes down to E35, so A1 all the way to E35, which is basically these 5 columns and those 35 rows. You're going to copy all of that data, and then you're going to put it in the other sheet, which is the now called the donor list sheet, and you will copy it and you will start at A4. So you're going to put that, you're going to start it right here. So you notice that you have 1, 2, 3, for 5 columns here. This one will be empty, and all of that data will start and will go down from here as far as it needs to go when you copy it. Okay, so you're going to copy everything here and put it in this sheet here, starting here. Okay, the next step is then it tells you that you will apply the following date format for the first donation. So the date will have to show as day, 2-digit, month, 3-digit, year, 4-digit. So that means, for example, if it was April 1st, 2022, you would put, it would come up with 01-APR-2022. And that will be done using the formatting tools, not typing it manually. Okay, so the dates for each of these various donations is what it's referring to. So currently it's set up as 13th of the 6th month of the 18th year. So you're going to be changing that format so that each one of these is correct. Now remember, these are all unique dates, so they should all not be the same. You will not be able to use autofill here. You have to use the date format to be able to change this to the correct date. The next thing it says here is that you apply the currency format to column E. So currency format, when you put this here, you're going to basically, all of these are dollar amounts. So you can't type a $sign. You have to use the formatting tools that are provided you in Excel that are covered in the tutorials. And you will use currency format for anything in this entire workbook. Anywhere you use money, anything to do with dollars and cents, you will use a currency format. That automatically will add the $sign and the cent sign, and it will put 00 if there's no cents. It will put actual cents there if there is cents. Okay, so you have to do that for everywhere in the workbook that you see $signs. Then you're going to put an appropriate formula or function and cell range name to calculate the total donations and place the result in cell E40. So now here you're going to come down to E40 and you're going to total up all of these donations, and you're going to put that total right here. Regardless of where it ends, it will end before E40. You're going to put the total here. You're going to have to use an appropriate formula and a cell range name, right? So you can call that cell range, for example, total annual donation. So you have to use both the cell range name and the correct formula, all right? When it comes to number 3, it says you will use the if function formula to automatically determine whether each donor receives a free membership based upon the following criteria. So you're going to have to use an if formula, and if the person's annual donations exceed $5,999, which means that there would have to be $6,000 or more, okay? But basically $5,999.01, but I don't believe any of the donations have the cents there. So anything over that, they will receive a free membership. So in this column, you're going to have to use an if formula that will say that if that criteria is met, that means that if their donations here exceeds the $5,999 mark, then yes, either yes, they get a free membership, or you could use the words free membership. Whatever you use, it needs to be clear that the person is getting a free membership. If they do not, then it should return the answer of no or no free membership, something like that. So it should be clear if they get it or they don't get it. And that should be right there in that box marked free membership, and it's based upon the total annual donations. Again, it must be an if formula only to do this. Remember, if you just type something in as the answer, you will not get any points. You must use formulas for everything that you're asked to use formulas for. Okay? Next question says here, or the next directive says, the management of Kids for Change would like you to divide the list by donor type. You will place all of the private donors and their data on a new sheet, and you will rename it called Private Donors. You will do the same for the business donors. So what you're going to have to do is, you notice here it says you have sheet 1 and sheet 2. You're going to change this one to donor list. You're going to change this one to donor data. Then you're going to add 2 new sheets. One is called private donors, the other one is called business donors. So you'll create the sheets, and then you're going to have to separate these and sort them out by who is private and who is business. You will put the private donors and the business donors in their respective sheets. with all of the same headings as you have here. So all of the same information will go to that sheet. So after you've done the first couple of steps, you will then do this step and copy everything over, all the private donors on one side, all the business donors on the next side. Okay, after you do this, you will then, you're going to basically create a bar chart and a column chart for each sheet, the private donor sheet and the business donor sheet. So for the private, for both of them, you're going to create a bar chart that will illustrate all of the donors and all of the top donors and their amounts. The other one, you're going to use the column chart, and then you're going to basically put the top 5 donors, and you're going to separate that in a column chart. So one of them will have all of the donors with the amount, the other one will have the top 5 with the amount. One will be a bar chart, one will be a column chart. You will do this for both the private donors and the business donors. So you're putting a total of 4 charts on each sheet. The private donors will have 2 charts, the business donors will have 2 charts. One will be bar chart, one will be a column chart. Okay, so be specific. Make sure that all of your charts have a title. It shouldn't say chart title. It should say what it is. All of your charts should have labeling, left side and bottom. Those are called the axis labels, X and Y. They both should be there as well. So this is number 5. Number 6, on the new sheets, you will use a range name and a formula to calculate how many private donors there are and how many business donors there are. I'm going to cover number 7 at the same time. You're also going to calculate how much money they donated. So you're going to basically, once you copy them over, you're going to have all of the private donors in one sheet, all of the business donors in another sheet with all of the information that you get from here. You're going to total up the total count of private donors and the total count of business donors. You're going to total up the total amount they both donated. You're going to use cell range names and a formula to count them and calculate them. Once you do that, you're going to use a cell reference, and you're going to put in this sheet, which will be called donor list, right here in L6 and L7 respectively. You're going to have a link which will take me to that reference, which is the amount of private donors and the amount of business donors. So there should be, here should be visible, would be the total number of private donors and the total number of business donors. But it should be a formula from another page. Here, you'll have the dollar amounts, again, for the private and business donors. If you just type the amounts, you will not get any points. You need to use the formula, and you need to use the reference from the other page. So that is section 1, right? So when section 1 is done, section 1 will now, instead of being 2 sheets, it will be 4 sheets and 4 charts. Then you have section 2Q, right? Or sorry, section 2. Section 2, it tells you that in the same workbook, which is this one, the worksheet contains quarterly data, right? This section 2Q. 2A is semi-annual data. So you can see 2Q here, and you can see 2A here. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to basically, I have the instructions in my head, so I'm going to basically go through them for you. You're going to take the information from here, and you're going to use a formula to link the sheets and bring this information over here. So you're going to use a reference which will refer to these cell amounts and bring them from here to here, not just copy and paste them, right? Once you do that, you will have 6 months worth of data for the expenses for this particular personal semi-annual budget, right? This is starting to sound familiar to you because this is what part of your project is for the end of the semester, making your own personal budget, right? So here, you're going to basically have all of the amounts. Remember, you're going to have to change them all to dollar amounts. You're going to have to do a total, and every time you're totaling things up, you're going to have to use a formula and a cell range name. So your mortgage, you're going to have a cell range called mortgage, which will total up to 6 months. The total will go here. And all the way down, you'll do each one. Auto loan, auto insurance, groceries, each one will have a total for the 6 months, and you will use a cell range name and a formula. Then for each month, you'll have a cell range name called January, February, March, April, May, and June, and item total. And you will total up all of the items by month. And again, cell range name, and you will use the formulas. Here, you're going to have the average monthly expense. The The average monthly expense will be the average formula, and you'll use it for each of the months, and again, you'll be using the cell range names. You'll do the same thing for maximum and minimum. And then the last one here, it says that you will use January versus June max expense. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at the monthly grand total of expenses, January and June. You're going to use an if formula to compare the two. And if January is greater than June, you would put the answer there. It would say January. If not, it would say June. So the answer should be whichever one is greater, but you have to use an if formula. Remember that all of these need to be formatted. Anytime you're using currency, you need to have borders, you need to have currency amount. You can also, I'll explain to you at the end how you're going to overall fix the actual appearance of each of these worksheets to enhance them. But keep in mind that you're going to have to use borders on anything that has currency in it, and anything that has data in it, you should be using borders. Anything that has currency, you should be using the $sign. Okay, so keep that in mind. So that way these would all say, have a $sign, 1150.00. Everything needs to be adjusted for that, all of the cells there. Anytime you see cells that are blank in between rows, those should not necessarily have borders around them because they're going to be empty. So you have to be careful of which ones you put borders. It's not just everything. Okay. Also, on this particular one here, as I've went through all of these instructions here, remember you'll be using cell range names and formulas for everything. You're also going to add a pie chart, and the pie chart will be on the same sheet. And the pie chart will be used to illustrate and compare the figures for the first 3 months. So you're going to give the chart a title and label the axes. In this case, it's going to be a pie chart. You're just going to basically label what we're seeing in the pie chart. And you're also going to be putting, so you're going to be selecting this data here, right? So you're going to be selecting all of this on the other sheet after it's been properly formatted. This is what should be charted so we can compare the various expenses. Okay, that is the second part. So the second part, you're renaming section 2Q to quarterly 1, which is this one. You're renaming section 2A to semi-annual, and you're adding a pie chart to it. So now this one here, you're not adding any new sheets, you're just renaming them. So now you're up to 6 sheets and you have 5 charts. The last section, which is section 3, it requires you to create a new sheet. So you're just going to basically click on the plus sign, you're going to put a new sheet in, and you're going to have to give that sheet a name that's appropriate. And this one here, you're going to be using all of this data will have to be typed in. So the customer name, furniture value, deposit, balance, monthly installment, all of the names with the dollar amounts of how much money they spend on their furniture. So you can call it furniture values, you can just call it furniture, however you want it to name it, make sure it makes sense. You're going to use borders on it as well and $sign just like everything else. Then you're going to proceed to use formulas on this, and when you do so, the deposit amount is going to be 25% of the total. So remember, for each one, you're going to be using formulas and cell range names where applicable. Then once you have the deposit amount, you're going to subtract the deposit amount from the furniture value to come up with the balance. There is no interest, and this is not a payment formula, as that is not part of this class. So all you're asked to do is come up with the deposit, the balance, and then it tells you here that everyone will make payments over 24 months without interest. So all you're basically doing is dividing the balance by 24. Okay, so for an example, flowers is $100,000. 25% would be 25,000. The difference here would be 75,000, and then if you divide that by 24, that's how much their payment would be. But remember, everything needs to be done using a formula and a cell range name. You're also going to sort this by alphabetical order. So you're going to have to select all of the data in the cells to make sure that everything goes with the person, right? So that it doesn't move things around. These dollar amounts have to stay with the correct person. So you'll sort it alphabetically after you finish it. The last part of this part of section 3, it tells you that you will need to create a fully labeled bar chart using the customer name and monthly installments. So basically what you're going to include in this one, it's going to be the customer name, this row here, or column here, and this column here, the monthly installment column. And you're going to chart that in a bar chart. So now you can see the last one, it says you're going to be creating a new sheet and you're going to be adding a bar chart, right? So you have that. So now you're going to have 1, 2, which is going to be changed, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sheets, right? And then your bar chart is going to be in a new sheet. That's going to be your 8th sheet. The 9th sheet will be the rubric. So once you create your bar chart, you're going to send it to and put it into a new sheet. Okay, so it's going to be a sheet by itself. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 charts, and you're going to have 8 sheets plus the rubric. All right, so the total is going to be 9 sheets. Now the bottom here refers to all of the sheets, the entire workbook. It says, please apply appropriate styles and formatting to make the workbook look more attractive and easy to read. All cells containing currency data should have $signs, and that should be done by using the formatting currency and choosing $signs with dollars and cents. All cells that have information in them, any data whatsoever, should have some type of border around it. This means that these 10 points apply to all of the sheets. But remember, do not touch the rubric sheet. It is not to be altered. Okay? You also will have to use conditional formatting, which means that in your various sheets, if a certain condition exists, so in parts 1, part 2, and part 3, conditional formatting should be present to show that you know how to use it. Which means, for example, so you could say if a free membership is there, then maybe it gets green. If a free membership is not, maybe it gets pink or purple or red or blue, something like that. When you get to your quarterly expenses, if you have something that's very high or very low, you can highlight anything maybe above $500, anything below $100. So this way it shows that you can use the conditional formatting. So once the condition is met, the color is a certain way. It's not just going in and putting in fill with color. It means that a condition has to be met. Okay? So for each section, you have to use the conditional formatting as well. Remember, you will save your workbook as your last name Excel assignment. That will be the word, right? It will be the name of the assignment. The extension should take place by itself as long as you're using a Microsoft Excel version 2016 or thereabouts. Remember, you get 1 point for that. So if you just go ahead and you rename this thing as assignment 1, you're not going to get the point. You need to put, so everything has a value. Everything that you're doing has a value. So I will be going through this during my consultation sessions, as I imagine the other lecturers will as well, but in not as great a detail as I am here. So this will be provided to all sections, both online and face-to-face, just as a tool to go through and assist with any questions that you have. Please make sure that if you have any questions, refer to the written instructions, to refer to this video, and then if you need clarification, just copy and paste the instruction that you are confused about. Please don't say I don't understand the assignment, because the assignment has several elements. That question can't be answered without asking the next question. What is it that you don't understand? So if you have a question about a specific instruction, you go in and you copy and paste it, and you email your lecturer. You include your name, your course, your section, and then you include your question and tell him or her what you believe that this means, or I don't understand it. Can you explain it further? Many times, if it's just restated back to you, you may understand it, but sometimes there's just a little bit of a block when you're looking at things on video, and you need that personal or oral explanation yourself. So if that's the case, send the question to your lecturer, and your lecturer will answer it. Always remember that you need to speak to your lecturer, because your lecturer is the one who will be grading the work. If you send me the question, I'm going to refer you to the lecturer if you are not my student. And the reason being is that, unfortunately, we are subjective, and we're going to look at the rubric and give you the points. But the thing is, sometimes there's a little bit of difference between each person, because we're only human. So please remember to email your lecturer if you have a question. That's all I have for you, folks. Thank you very much. Good luck with the assignment.